Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing you an absolutely amazing trick for doing sparkly water. You know that when you look out to sea and you get all those little twinkles, that sort of thing, or over a lake. It's a wonderful technique. It's actually relatively easy to do, but there is a sort of process that you need to follow. So I'll be going through that step by step. And yeah, now the hat. People often comment on my hats. Nobody does. And they always ask me, they never ask me, why are you wearing a hat indoors? You know, it's in many ways a crime against fashion and humanity. What you need to know is that my house is about 130 years old and it's very cold and it's difficult to insulate, and gas prices for heating houses in the UK are really high. So I don't like to put the heating on during the day when the kids aren't here, and so I just put a hat on or a jumper. And every time I put a jumper on, I always think of my mum saying, if you cold, put a jumper on. There you go. We all turn into our parents. So yeah, that's why I'm wearing a hat. So I'm sorry if it offends you. I really, truly am. I'm not at all. So we should get cracking. So what you need is some masking fluid for this one. If you don't have masking fluid, you can't use any other thing. Don't try and, you know, use Copydex or PVA glue. It really won't work. So you need some proper masking fluid. You need an old toothbrush as well. It's getting a bit more complicated, I know, but bear with me. It's wonderful. You'll love it. If you see the reference image, we have this band of rather reflective water at the bottom. I'm just going to show you a really quick shortcut to do water on a drawing like this. Now, here we have this boat. We don't actually want to paint the boat, and we want to not paint the background. So what I'm going to do is going to mask off the whole top of the picture, and then I'm going to mask off the bottom of the boat, which means that we can do that bit at the bottom all in one go. So how do you mask off all that, you ask? So I'll show you. Pop that on there. Get some masking tape. Some art is process, some art is just experimentation and play. So what I've got here is some of this blue masking tape, Artist's Blue. The reason why I use blue is because I think it's easy to see. And this is from SAA, you can get it from anywhere. So the tool I'm going to use for this is I'm going to use a brush. Now how I'm going to use this, it's easy to show you here. So what I do is I dip this into here, so I tilt this over and then I dip that in and make sure I cover some of the brushes, and then if I want some light dots I will use it this way up with the back facing the paper, and I'll do this technique with my thumb. Now when you've just loaded this up here, what you'll find is the bristles are rather full, so if you don't want big blobs, you do your first one up here away from the picture, and then you can start working here. But the idea is you want some small ones at the back, and as you get further forward you can use some bigger marks. Now is you can actually lay the toothbrush on its side, and the reason why that's quite good is because, you know, waves tend to be horizontal in effect, if you know what I mean. Dab them on like that, or even press down and pull across. But again, you want small waves at the back that are further away and bigger waves close up. I need to mask the boat. Okay, I've done it again. I forgot to put my glasses on. There's a little flag back there as well. It doesn't really have to be masked. The reason why I'm masking off some of these elements is just because they're lighter than the... So I'm going to shut that up and clean the masking fluid off the brush. And then that's a problem. If you go back in, you've got to be careful, because if you go back in you can pull off the dry stuff. Okay, so the reason why you do the water first for drawings like this is primarily because if you mess the water up, you're not going to ruin the whole drawing. I often think it's important to start a lot of these drawings, whether it's sky, like in this one that's quite big and bold, or the water in some of them, you know, start that first, because then you can do 2 or 3 of them, pick the best and go from there. Right, so here we go. I'll show you how this works. So I'm going to dip the brush in there, again tilting that back, and then as I said before, the first one I'm going to do is here, and actually just make sure, yeah, that looks okay. So start at the front, because the big blobs are going to come out first. There you go. Now I could use my thumb on this, as I said before. Okay, and then I'm going to just get a tiny bit more for the front here, some Right, now once I've done that, you can put the lid back on here. I've managed to obviously put masking fluid over everything I own. And then I'm going to, again, use this on its side. And I'm just going to create some texture in the foreground primarily. And then work my way back a little bit more, just lighter taps as you get further back. If you do some bigger ones in the background, come back to the foreground and add a few more in. The most important thing when you're doing something like this is don't use your own toothbrush, because the latex probably isn't very good for you. So make sure you just use your wife's or one of the kids. Right, so there you go. I can show you a bit more close-up of that now. So you can see how that's worked. That latex is dried 3D. We've got some big waves at the front and small waves at the back. So the most important thing to do now is to give that a really good dry. And once you've done that, we can get on with some painting fun. Right, so we've had a bit of a dropout there with filming for some reason. The camera turned itself off, so I'm just going to talk you through what I did then. Is I mixed up some cobalt blue, and then I actually put it on the brush, and then using the side of the brush like this, so laying the brush flat against the paper, I went backwards and forwards horizontally, trying to keep all these strokes horizontal. Now, I'm not bothered about getting full coverage. I actually want some light spots. And then once you've done that, hair dry that, and then we'll go one more wash but darker. Okay, so you really want to make sure that's properly dry, so that when you go back into the next layer, you get some sort of clear differentiation. So I'm going to pick up a bit of that cobalt blue and mix it in with this Indian Horn blue here, which is quite a dark royal blue. It's a really lovely sort of concentration there. So again, I'm going to start at the back on the side again, and I'm going to be quite quick with how I do this. And then in the front, here, again, horizontal strokes. And then we're back a bit here towards the boat, so I'll put a few lines in there. Now with this darker blue, what I might do is get some on the end of the brush and just put in some slightly darker horizontal lines in the foreground, just quite close in. So we're going to dry that off, and then we're going to take all the masking tape off, and we're going to have a look at the effect. So here we go. So the hot hairdryer means that the masking tape should come straight off. There we go. And then I'm going to get some clean tissue and wrap that up in a ball, and then rub this to get that masking tape off. So again, if you go gently but sort of horizontally, and you don't want to rub too hard, because what that will do is it'll start to pull the paper apart, and that's the last thing you want. So what's happened here is we've lost a little bit of the pencil outline of the boat, but again, that doesn't matter. Now you can go back in here and add in any waves, darker waves. So what I might do is, when the drawing's right at the end, I'll go in and reinstate some of these dark waves to give it a bit more sort of regularity, because I'm going to have to put in the dark wave under the boat and its wake going backwards. But that's worked really well, that. And that creates your sort of base for your drawing, so now you can go back in and finish the drawing. So I've put on a few little highlights with the old gel pen, and a few details with a grey fine liner, just to sort of sharpen up some of the details in the sail, but that's it. So you can see how that technique works. And then it was just a case of building up the layers of the drawing, really. This is a really quick one. I'm going to be doing a video later on, a whole series later on water, because there's many different ways to do water. You can brush it in, you can use spatter techniques. Again, this is more brushing. You can use dry brush techniques, wet in wet techniques. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, you can do little cards. You could do a big dramatic piece with a big dramatic sky. But the thing to do is just to make sure you work on a piece of paper that's big enough so you can get a variation of lines and sizes for the masking fluid, and then just go for it. Be as big and bold as you want, and it all just coalesces as soon as you take off that masking fluid, and it all sparkles and looks great. And then you can put a boat in, or Santa going across the sky, whatever you want. All right, guys, have fun. Do some art. Give yourself some time. Give yourself the gift of that relaxation. Just create, have fun. Stay safe. Stay warm. Put a hat on. See you later.